Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to send a quick video just to touch base, but also to clarify a couple of things about the upcoming essay assignment, which is due in 1 week from today. I've received a couple of emails and a couple of office hour visitors who have, asked what is the assignment looking for in terms of contemporary realism, and can you give me an example? And the truth is that what I'm looking for in this essay is for you to determine what an example of contemporary realism would be. And ultimately, it can be anything, as long as you can make an argument based on the comparison to one of the texts that we've read in class and show how it exhibits similar aspects of realism as those works that we have discussed in class. Then basically what you choose to represent contemporary realism could be anything. It could be entirely up to you. I think if you're looking for advice on, first of all, just what to choose for that subject matter, it would help first to just refresh yourself on the tenets of realism, which a large portion of our work this semester has focused on. Just for a couple of examples, modern realism or American literary realism, traditionally speaking, focuses on the lives of everyday people, focuses more on the day-to-day choices that people make and how these things affect their lives and their environment, the obstacles that people face in real life, rather than big grandiose stories involving epic journeys or heroic deeds. This is more mundane stories of how people actually live their lives and the things that they go through. Realism focuses on trying to capture the real way that people speak. There's a lot of focus on vernacular and dialect. It is typically a little bit more pessimistic and comes with a certain degree of struggle and strife that a lot of fantastical stories pre-realism tended to base their stories on, and on and on and on. All you really need to do is just go and refresh yourself on what makes something an example of realism, and from there, anything that you can fit into those categories based on how you describe them in your essay, basically anything is up for grabs. Popular examples may be things like hip-hop music, country music, both of which focus on trying to capture the real way people talk. They're focused on telling stories of everyday life. If there is a movie or a TV show, I think of the movie Fargo from the Coen brothers from back in the 90s, which was set in Minnesota and sort of the North Midwest, and a great amount of effort was spent just trying to capture how those characters interact daily. A large focus was on the sound of how people from Minnesota talk. TV shows that sort of focus around a particular group. I'm thinking of perhaps The Sopranos and the way that they depict Italian-American culture, both in their food, the way they talk to each other, their customs. Just anything that you can say represents the tenets of realism. It's really okay for you to just pick whatever you like. It's more or less about the argument that you can make with regards to that. The example in the prompt was The Bachelor, and The Bachelor is just a silly example. But if you think about what you see in any given episode of The Bachelor, it's entirely based on how this random group of people interact with each other, sort of capturing their different personalities and therefore their different cultures or their different regional affiliations. It's all about the choices that get made as these folks interact with each other. It's about sort of the strife and the heartbreak that some of them go through, unfortunately. And so it does not have to be The Bachelor. I've had a couple of people say, well, do I have to write about how The Bachelor is realism? No. The Bachelor is just an example. You can fill the blank with whatever you like. It's really just a matter of, can you describe it in a way that represents what we have learned with regard to realism? And then can you compare The Bachelor, for example, to Mark Twain? Can you compare typical country music to, and the way that country music tries to capture the way country folks talk, to the way that Mark Twain tries to capture a similar regional characterization, and then build your paragraphs in this essay around that. So if you're wanting advice just of what to pick, really it's entirely up to you. You just sort of have to think of, what is realism and how can I describe this bit of contemporary media in those terms? And it doesn't have to be anything from this year. It can be something from the last couple of decades, of course. Contemporary is a broad term, but just means sort of our time, right? If you were looking for advice about just how to approach the essay, how to structure the essay, I would imagine a typical thesis statement for an assignment like this to read something like, both Mark Twain and The Bachelor exhibit realism in the sense that they do thing A, thing B, and thing C. And then in your body paragraphs, you can start with a topic sentence and say, one aspect that both of these works capture of realism is a focus on living language and vernacular and dialect. And then show examples from one of the texts in class, and then show a similar example from the text that you've chosen. Next paragraph. Another thing that typifies realism in literature is this. Explain it a little bit, show it in one of the texts from class, show it in the text that you've chosen to write about, and so on and so forth, for however many tenets that you want to identify. So, this assignment is really meant to be a little freeing in that regard. You can pick whatever you like. You can describe it however you think would best suit our purposes. And within that, it's just a matter of how you approach building just a solid essay that is structured around those tenets. A good comparative essay, if you had me for 1010 or 1020, you know that in a good comparison essay, that comparison should be active, which means that in any given paragraph, you're showing how a tenet of realism is exhibited in both texts, and you give examples from each. You don't have to give just one big example and just throw in one quote. You can sort of refer to and speak upon a handful of moments that put this on display, and so on. You've all passed 1010 and 1020. You all know how a good essay should be structured. And so that's just, a few thoughts on what I'm more or less looking for you to speak to in this essay. If you have questions, or if you want to ask whether or not a particular bit of media would work and kick around ideas, I'd be more than happy to. My office hours next week will be more or less the same as always. So just know that I'm here to help you kick around ideas if you need, but also that you can essentially choose whatever you like, as long as you can make the argument based on the comparison that this new bit of media contains aspects of realism that we discussed in class. So I hope this helps. I hope that if you have questions, you reach out next week. Don't forget that the essay is due on November 5th. If you need a little extra time over the weekend, just reach out. I'll be happy to talk with you about what you need. But yeah, shoot me an email, come by during office hours, tune in into the Zoom room during virtual office hours if you need. Just let me know how I can help. But otherwise, relax a little bit. This should be more straightforward than perhaps it may seem. And just let me know if you have any questions. We are almost in November, which means that we have much less time to go than we've been so far. And so I know that everyone's probably a little stressed about the end of the semester. Don't let this assignment stress you out. If there's anything I can do to help talk you down off the ledge, then please let me know. But I hope everyone has a good weekend, and good luck on this essay.